Why Gino Guidugli makes sense as Luke Fickell's offensive coordinator, I'm going to tell you why.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger family? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you get in this episode. I can't say it enough. I always say thank you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being part of this community. I appreciate it. We all do. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, $5 bet gets you $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today's episode, we are talking why the Luke Fickell era failed. Boil it down to one big reason. What could change offensively against Nebraska? But let's talk offensive coordinators. Why do I think Gino Guidugli makes the most sense? Let's start with who he is. If you're not familiar, Badger fans, I don't super blame you. Gino Guidugli was the offensive coordinator at Cincinnati with Luke Fickell, right? He helped develop Desmond Ridder. He was the quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator there. Came with Luke Fickell. When Luke Fickell left Cincinnati to Wisconsin, Luke Fickell brought Gino with him. Luke Fickell wanted Gino to come with him. He was coming in as more the tight ends coach. Obviously, Phil Longo was the offensive coordinator, but Luke wanted Gino on this staff. Notre Dame thought highly enough of Gino to come in, and Notre Dame, that's a blue blood school. They came in, they offered Gino the passing game coordinator, quarterback's coach position at Notre Dame. He took that. While at Notre Dame, he's helped develop their passing attack. Sam Hartman, just this last year, 2,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, or in 2023, 159 passing rating, which was the third best in program history. So he's had success in Notre Dame, developing a passing attack, developing quarterbacks. He's had success in Cincinnati, developing the passing game, developing quarterbacks. And more importantly, there's a connection there. We talked about it. This is the most important hire of Luke Fickell's tenure. He has to get the offensive coordinator job right. And he already got burned by going out of his circle. He went out of his circle for Phil Longo. And you can say, yeah, you want a coach who's going to take risks. Go hire somebody. You don't need to know him. You go out of your circle, take the home run swing. Sure, all that sounds great if you're not in Luke Fickell's shoes, right? All that sounds perfectly great when you have nothing riding on it. Luke Fickell has to get this right, and he knows who Gino Guidugli is. He's coached with him. He wanted to bring him here already. If you just connect these dots, it makes so much sense. And he's a good recruiter. Gino is known as a good recruiter. So you're bringing in somebody that Luke Fickell knows, that Luke Fickell wanted on staff, that Notre Dame thought highly enough of to bring him onto their staff, that has developed multiple quarterbacks, that is known as a good recruiter. And again, runs a scheme and a style that Luke Fickell likes, is comfortable with. He's comfortable with them in the coaching room. He's comfortable with them as a recruiter. He would come in and he knows this recruiting staff. He's already came to Madison briefly once before. It connects so many dots. It makes so much sense. I don't think he's going to go out of his comfort zone again for this hire. I just don't. He got burned once doing it. It just wasn't a good fit with Phil Longo. And I don't know if he's going to take that risk again with a hiring that is so, so important, especially with a guy when he can get a guy that he already wanted to come to Madison in the first place. So I think Gino makes a ton of sense. I think he's probably the odds-on favorite. I've had a couple people kind of tell me they think it's going to be Gino. I haven't heard anything specific. I'm not going to blow smoke, but I've had a couple people tell me they'd be surprised if it wasn't Gino. We'll see. I do want to talk about a couple other candidates here that I think are interesting. The first one is the name Brian Hartline has come up a lot, the Ohio State co-offensive coordinator, obviously the receiving guru there. Hard no for me on Brian Hartline. No, thank you. No, I'm good. Hartline is well thought of, obviously a great recruiter. He's a great recruiter recruiting to Ohio State, right? That's I don't know, a great ketchup salesman operating at a tomato plant. It's just a lot easier there. I don't know if that analogy works, but my point is it that hard to recruit great receivers to Ohio State? He's the offensive coordinator this year. Chip Kelly's there. I would have major concerns that Hartline could do it at a school that is in Ohio State. If I'm hiring an offensive coordinator as Luke Fickell, I don't want to hire from one of the blue bloods because I don't know if the blue blood guys can do it at a non-blue blood school with non-blue blood talent. So I'm out on Brian Hartline. No, thank you. I'm good. Mike Shanahan is a name that's been floated around. Kurt Cignetti's staff over at Indiana came with him from JMU. Some interesting passing concepts, kind of a well-thought-of coach. I don't know. I'll throw that name out there. That it would not be my first choice, but that name's been floated out there. Tom Herman's name has been floated out there. I'm kind of good on that one too. I think that might be more name recognition than actual coaching adeptness you're bringing into the room. I think it'd be expensive. I don't think he's been great lately. I'm kind of out on Tom Herman. I still get people that ask me about Paul Chryst. Once again, I love Paul, what he did at Wisconsin. That bridge is burned. Paul Chryst is not coming here. Not going to happen. And the name that's interesting to me, and Curtis Holland, playmaker, who comes on the show, brought this one up. Brennan Marion, the UNLV offensive coordinator, the go-go offense, a lot of triple option in there, but it's also an offense where like you watch it and it looks like to me, that looks, when you see what they do, it looks like it's adaptable to Wisconsin. Brendan Marion has had success everywhere he's gone. He's also coached at Texas, where he was coaching receivers. The UNLV offense has been great. They said last year they set a program record with 6 straight games scoring 40+ points, including 4 consecutively. This is not a powerhouse program. I love that about him. I love guys who have proven. To me, it's very much like the Lance Leipold, Kotelnicki type of resume, where they've proven it at a lower level that they can they can get better results out of their talent than they should be getting. Right? He's coaching above his recruited talent at UNLV, and he's shown it everywhere he's gone. He was a former receiver. He's played the game. He's young. I think he could be a dynamic recruiter. The offense is good wherever he's gone. Like, he's been really, really talented at developing receivers and quarterbacks. I think the scheme fits Wisconsin. I think it would fit with the personnel we have here right now. And by the way, he's also coached at Texas. He does have experience in big boy football, and he's only 37. Like, he would still come in. He'd be hungry. Brendan Marion, I think, would be a home run hire out of UNLV. And I got to give credit to Curtis Holland, who comes on the show. He's the guy that kind of turned me on to him. But when you look into that resume, go read up on Brendan Marion, UNLV. To me, that one feels like a home run. That's at the top of my wish list. But I think Gino's more likely. And I don't think Gino would be a terrible hire. Like, I understand the need to have something that's comfortable, that Coach Fickell is familiar with. I like the quarterback background that Gino brings. He's proven he can develop quarterbacks. He actually has a pretty good reputation as a recruiter. So he checks a ton of boxes. Familiarity, runs the type of offense Luke Fickell's comfortable with. Luke Fickell is comfortable with him, develops quarterbacks, a pretty good recruiter. It's for all those reasons that I think Gino is probably the likely hire here. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad one, but it's maybe not the home run swing, right? But keep in mind, much like baseball, when you take home run cuts, you strike out more, right? What do the best home run hitters in baseball do? They also strike out a lot. So maybe it's okay to shoot for a double and hit a double at the OC spot, right? Because Brendan Marion may be a home run, but maybe it doesn't translate to the Big Ten. Maybe he's not quite ready for that. Maybe he won't translate with Fickell, right? Like, maybe the two of them the chemistry wouldn't be there, or maybe he'd want to run something a certain way that Luke Fickell doesn't agree with. Maybe he would clash with the recruiting staff, whatever it is. All I'm saying, and all caution Badger fans, if you want to take the home run swing on somebody like a Brendan Marion, there's more risk there. There's a little more risk there, but he'd still be my number one choice because I love the resume. Everything about it screams up and coming head coach. That being said, I do think it's Gino for all the reasons I mentioned. Let me know in the comments where you're at on that one. Coming up next, let's talk about Phil Longo, why it didn't work here. And it didn't work, quite frankly, because he did not develop the quarterback spot. We're going to talk about the next Locked On Badgers. First, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Mint Mobile. We talked about our new friends over at Mint Mobile last show. I spend too much money on a lot of things, right? So I need spots where I can cut down. My phone bill is astronomically high. I'm absolutely going to take advantage of this and ship to Mint Mobile. Right now, cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Mint Mobile, it's easy. First of all, saving money, but it's also super easy. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's there. You'll see a 3-month plan, $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data, which you're going to need to stream all the podcasts you love. High-speed data and the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, bring your own phone number and all your existing contacts. So you're not starting all over unless you want to. Listen, some of us have exes we want to purge out of our phone. Maybe this is a great time to do that as well. Right now, new customers, you get this offer, 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required. That's equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower than 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional fees, taxes, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. All right, let's talk about the Phil Longo era and why it didn't work and why it can be boiled down to really just one thing. He never got the quarterback right. And the thing is, let's look at the quarterbacks he brought in, right? It's Nick Evers, and there was a lot of hype there. And let's look at the types of quarterbacks too. Nick Evers came in, 4-star quarterback, athletic, all the physical tool set in the world. Didn't work, right? He didn't develop. They never got on the field, transferred to UConn. Brought in Braden Locke. Braden Locke has not been good. Like it's never all on the quarterback, but Braden Locke hasn't been that good. And we're going to get to some stats in a second. Now, Braden Locke is kind of the antithesis of a Nick Evers, right? Not quite as big, not quite as mobile, more of the pocket passer, but that also didn't work. The point I'm starting to make here is Phil Longo has brought in multiple types of quarterbacks. He brought in multiple types of quarterbacks and still wasn't able to find a fit. He brought in Cole LaCrue. Cole LaCrue's been hurt, but he hasn't been able to break through. Maybe Mentor is a true freshman. He's doing true freshman things, which is learning, right? There's no knock on Phil Longo that the true freshman quarterback he brought in that I still think is probably really good hasn't developed. Landon Locke, next year's class, has already torn his ACL again. No knock on Phil Longo, but I don't think Landon Locke is the athletic type of quarterback you should be targeting. He brought in Tanner Mordecai, who did not really work out up to expectations. Brought in Tyler Van Dyke, who did not really work out to expectations. Again, you start to look at all these quarterbacks that were brought in, different types, big-bodied, rocket-armed quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. And you can say, well, he didn't have a chance to work out. I don't know. Through the first couple of games, didn't look that great. And then he brought in Tanner Mordecai, which is more of an athletic, mobile gamer. That didn't really work great. He tried with Braden Locke, which was more of a pocket passer, read the defense. That didn't really work great. He tried with Nick Evers, and that never translated. So multiple types of quarterbacks brought in over the course of 2 years. And this quarterback spot it's worse than it's ever been right now. This passing game is worse than it's been. You got to go back to some really bad Wisconsin passing attacks to compare this to. So not only has the passing attack not evolved, not gotten better, not gotten more modern, not gotten more multiple, not stressed the defense more, it feels like it's regressed. And that's all tied to the quarterback. Like, we can talk about receivers, we can talk about offensive line, we can talk about all these other things. The quarterback spot never got better. And in fact, it got worse. Right now, 2024, Wisconsin is 14th in the Big Ten in passing yards per game. 14th. 16th in passer rating. There's 18 teams in the conference. They're 16th in passer rating this year. This is what I'm like. It's gotten worse. They are 16th in yards per attempt. They are 14th in touchdowns. You go back to last year, they were 11th in yards per attempt. And again, 11 last year was a 14-team league, right? So they're 11th out of 14th last year in yards per attempt, 10th in touchdown, 9th in passer rating. Again, for 2 years here, this passing attack has de-evolved. It's gotten worse. The quarterbacks don't look like they're getting better. That's why. Like, if you boil down why the Phil Longo era failed, and Phil Longo came in with a ton of fanfare. We talked about it. I talked about it. It was that home run swing we talked about in segment 1, right? He took a home run swing on a guy. It didn't work. It just did not work. And this is why Phil Longo is moving on. It's nothing else. It's not more complicated than that. You got to fix the quarterback spot. And you look back at Wisconsin going even further back. When's the last time Wisconsin had? You got to go back to Jack Cohn to find a quarterback that was capable, right? So 2019, 18. Before that, you got to go back to Russell Wilson, since there was a game-changing quarterback. It's been Wisconsin has to figure this out big picture, because ultimately, no matter what happens, the new offensive coordinator, whatever scheme he runs, whatever Luke Fickell wants to do, nothing gets fixed if they don't fix quarterback. That's all what it is right now. They got to fix the quarterback spot. They got to find a guy, no matter what. I'll tell you this offseason, you know what I would say for the NIL, for the portal, like, just pull it all and just get a quarterback. Instead of spreading it out over 8 guys, 9 guys, 10 guys, 12 guys. I'm sorry, man, you got to get a quarterback. And if that means paying $2 or $3 million and just punting everywhere else, maybe that shouldn't be the decision, right? Maybe you shouldn't have to decide one or the other. I know there's schools that don't, but instead of bringing in 2 defensive linemen, 5 linebackers, 2 corners, a receiver, a tight end, a kick returner, just pull all that money and go to the bank and get a quarterback, because that is the biggest impediment for this team for the last 15, 20 years. They got to fix that spot. And no matter who the new offensive coordinator is, it's not going to matter unless he fixes quarterback. It doesn't matter. The scheme doesn't matter. I was arguing this the other day or today in the Discord. I think Paul Chryst' scheme would work if he could have fixed and found a better quarterback at times. It doesn't matter if you don't fix quarterback. So that's why Phil Longo's gone. And by the way, you look at other Big Ten teams. I mean, Indiana had Michael Penix for a while. Minnesota had a really good Tanner Morgan year. Purdue had a really good David Blau year. You can go down the list. Michigan's had several good guys. Altmaier's looked better this year. Like, there's other non-blue blood teams in the Big Ten that are getting serviceable to good quarterback play occasionally. And for Wisconsin just hasn't been able to do it. The last several years of Paul Chryst, obviously the Luke Fickell era, Gary Anderson struggled with it. Brett Bielema struggled with it. Fix the quarterback, man. Find a way. Because until that happens, there's no upward trajectory for Wisconsin. And what does that mean this offseason? Look at the quarterback room. What does it mean this offseason at the quarterback room? I think when Phil Longo's going, this is just me. I'm not telling you I've heard this anywhere. I think Mabry's gone. I think I can tell you from talking to Mabry before he came to Wisconsin. So again, this is not based on anything I've heard the last couple of days. But before he came to Wisconsin, Mabry was very much coming here for Phil Longo. And a lot of people are frustrated that Braden Locke is the starter next week. It could be, and again, this is just speculation. It could be Mabry wants to preserve the red shirt and he's already decided to transfer. That shouldn't shock anybody. That's the era of college football we're in. There's players all around the country who, after 3 games, you remember before we played USC, Barry Alexander, their defensive lineman, said, I'm out. I'm going to preserve my red shirt. I'm done playing. There's a very real scenario here where the coaching staff at least would have considered Mabry, and maybe Mabry, knowing that Phil Longo's gone, knowing that he might not be here next year, maybe Mabry wants to preserve his red shirt. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that might also be why Braden Locke's starting next week. Going into the offseason, I think I'm just going to say it. I think there is a ton of turnover in this quarterback room. I am very curious to see if Cole LaCrue, a guy who it seems like had fallen out of Phil Longo's preferred rotation, a guy who I like. I like the intangibles. He won a state high school championship. He can move, has a good enough arm, has good size. He's super tough. I love the moxie on Cole LaCrue. I kind of wonder if a guy like him, with a new offensive coordinator, if he wants to stick around, if he might emerge a little bit as a surprise guy. I would not count out Cole LaCrue in this. You look at, other than that, I think the Locks, who really kind of came here because of Phil Longo, I'm curious what their future is. I think this is probably an offseason where you're getting 2 transfer portal guys. Like you're going to get a couple arms in this room, and maybe you try to flip another 2025 quarterback. I will say this, the offensive coordinator coming in, he's going to have to come in with some quarterback connections, right? Whether that's a Marion from UNLV, whether that's a Gino Guidugli or somebody else, they're probably going to bring a quarterback or 2 with them, or at least have a relationship with several quarterbacks that they could potentially flip into next year. And that's going to be part of it too, right? There's probably going to be quarterbacks that come with this new OC as there's quarterbacks that leave with the old OC. And that's just kind of the nature of firing or letting your quarterbacks coach go. You're going to lose some guys that are connected to him, but when you bring a new one in, you're also going to bring in some guys connected to the new guy. So massive offseason of change at the quarterback room. Expect 2 or 3 new bodies in that room. I would expect several guys leaving. Very interested to see if Cole LaCrue can take a jump up this offseason. But yeah, it is going to be a massive turnover in that room. And quite frankly, that's probably okay. And I really like Mabry Metzhoyer, but this room needs an overhaul. It needs to get better. And to the entire point of this segment, nothing else with Wisconsin football is really going to matter that much unless they fix the quarterback spot. And fixing it doesn't mean you got to get a Dan Marino. It doesn't mean you got to get a Russell Wilson, right? But can you get a Jack Cohn? And you better get one quick. You got to get one quick. And can you get a Scott Tolzien, an upperclassman type Scott Tolzien? You got to get one quick because you don't have too much more rope on this leash. So that's what it's going to come down to. Fix the quarterback spot. All right, coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about what I think could change with the offense with a new OC with 1 week heading into Nebraska. That's next on Locked On Badgers. But first, new friends of the show over at Skylight. So listen, this isn't the 1630s, right, where you're going across the Oregon Trail. I actually think that was like in the 1800s, but you got your wagon yoke, you're going across the Oregon Trail, and you're missing your beloved family out in Philadelphia, and you just can't see them. You have like a little sketch of them that's drawn in your notepad. This isn't that. This is 2024. Go get you a Skylight. You can put pictures of your loved ones on the wall, mount them, digital frame. It makes a great gift for someone who just lives apart from their loved ones. Again, this isn't the 1800s. Put a picture of your loved ones on the wall, and what a gift it makes over at Skylight. They got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your entire family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds like magic. I don't know how it works, but digitally, boop, 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 boop. Goes from your phone to the skylight frame. It's incredible. Easy to use, takes less than 60 seconds. Seamless sharing. Invite your friends and your family to share these photos together. 2 sizes to choose from, the 10-inch and the 15-inch, depending on how big your wall is. Maybe you have tiny walls. You get the 10-inch. You got big normal adult walls. You get the 15-inch. It's all good. Satisfaction guaranteed. They are confident that you will love Skylight. They offer free 120-day returns, top-rated brand, over 1 million happy customers. And now, as a special limited time offer to our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/college. That's skylightframe.com/college. Get $20 off your purchase now over at skylightframe.com/college. Today's episode also brought to you by our amazing friends over at FanDuel, like the absolute best sports book that I've ever used, the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. And if you trust me, with your hair loss stuff, and you trust me with, the bird dogs, you're going to trust me with the sports book. I've never led you wrong. Parlays, futures, teasers, all over there on FanDuel.com. Always do it responsibly. Right now, new customers, $5 bet gets you $150 bonus bets if you win. For first-time customers, that's $150 you can spend on the ultimate parlay, right? Maybe take a Badgers basketball futures. Team is 5-0. Maybe not the worst thing you can do with that $150 bonus bets guaranteed. Head over to FanDuel.com, spice up your sports weekend. $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network and the NFL. All right, let's get back into this conversation here. Talk about what I think could change with the offense heading into Nebraska. We saw an interesting quote. I thought it was interesting. Jake Renfro was being interviewed, and he hinted at some changes. He said, we're not going to talk about it, but we're excited to show it. So what could change? I'll tell you this, not a ton. You're not going to change a ton in 1 week. But what can change? I think you could see a concerted effort to simplify some things and a concerted effort to get certain people the ball several more times a game. What I mean by that is we are going to force the ball to some of our playmakers and do it in ways that just are a little simpler. Jet sweeps to Tretch, screen passes to Dupree. Get Dupree a little bit more on the edges. I thought you started to see the offense attack the edges off tackle, outside zone, some more outside action against Oregon in the running game. It looked really good. I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see more Dupree on the edge. I think you're going to see more passes to Tretch, more balls in the hands of Tretch, where he can get the ball in space and make something happen. I do think those things can happen. Like let's simplify some of this and let's get our playmakers the ball more. And let's take a little bit off of the shoulders of Braden Locke. Let's take some of that responsibility off. You're going to see a lot of runs. I think probably a little less first down passing. I think they're going to lean really, really run heavy these next 2 weeks, but mix it up by trying to creatively. Thank you. By trying to creatively get the ball into the hands of the guys that can take a jet sweep and take it 20, 30 yards. I really think you're going to see more touches for Tretch this week. You're going to see more for Dupree, maybe some for Dylan Jones, more for Tretch. I think you're going to see more of that this weekend where, okay, we're going to simplify it. We're going to take some of this off of Braden Locke coming off a really bad performance, and let's just see if we can get the ball in our playmakers' hands a little bit more. I also think you're going to potentially see some yak. If you're going to see it, like people every week tell me, yak, where's yak? Where's the yak attack? Where's the yak man, right? You weren't going to see it with Phil Longo for probably some reasons he had and probably some reasons due to roster construction and other considerations. But now is the time if you're going to see a change to get Yak a little more involved. I wish we could have seen him a little bit in that Oregon game. You could see it in these last 2 weeks too, which again goes into my point of let's just get the athletic guys on this team, the playmakers in space on this team. Let's get them the ball a little bit more. Let's be a little more creative to get them looks, get them touches. And quite frankly, if you're Kenny Guyton, if you're Letton, if you're those guys that are helping coordinate this offense, you got nothing to lose. So I think you're going to probably see a trick player or two as well, whether it's a wildcat to Dupree, whether that's maybe a tight end screen, harken back to Paul Chryst days. But yeah, a reverse with a pass option, something like that. I think you're going to see a little more creativity, a trick player or two, and then just an emphasis to get the ball into the hands of the playmakers. I think that's what you're going to see because you can't do wholesale changes. We already know the quarterback's not changing. They're not going to suddenly come out and run like 5 receiver sets. They're not going to go into 12 personnel the entire game, anything like that. They're not going to start coming out in a wishbone. No, it's nothing wholesale. So it's little things. The little things to me, get the ball into the hands of the playmakers, simplify it for Locke a little bit, run a little more on the outside, and mix in a trick player too because you got nothing to lose. So I think that's what's going to happen. We will see. Huge game this weekend coming up against Nebraska. So definitely much more content coming up there. I want to thank every single person for tuning in. And as always, y'all are incredible, amazing. Thank you so much. When you're done, you go check out Locked On Big Ten. All the latest conference news over on the Locked On Big Ten channel on Wisconsin, and we will talk later.